Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The race to be the new Senate leader is underway in the United States after Donald Trump's election win. Florida Senator Rick Scott, who was comfortably re-elected to another 6-year term, is favourite with many, from grassroots supporters to some of the president-elect's closest allies now publicly endorsing him. Meanwhile, Tom Homan, a 62-year-old former police officer and long-serving immigration official, has been appointed as Donald Trump's border czar. The president-elect confirmed he would have a wide-ranging role overseeing border security and deportation policy, two areas which were central to Mr. Trump's presidential campaign. Rescuers and officials say Israeli strikes on northern Lebanon and Gaza have killed dozens of people, including several children. The Lebanese Health Ministry said at least 23 people, including 7 children, were killed on Sunday in Almat, near Byblos, to the north of the capital Beirut. In northern Gaza, the Civil Defense Agency said at least 30 people were killed in Israeli strikes on 2 houses in the besieged enclave. The first strike hit a house in Jabalia, killing at least 25 people, including 13 children, and injuring more than 30, according to the agency. Another 5 people were killed in the Sabra neighbourhood of Gaza City, and some are still missing in the aftermath. Russia and Ukraine have carried out their largest drone attacks against each other since the start of the war. Russia's defense ministry said it intercepted 84 Ukrainian drones over 6 regions, including some approaching Moscow, which forced flights to be diverted from 3 of the capital's major airports. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia launched 145 drones towards every part of the country, with most shot down. The barrages come amid expectations that US President-elect Donald Trump may put pressure on both sides to end the war. Ukraine's attempted strike on Moscow was also its biggest attack on the capital since the war began. The president of COP29 is calling on the private sector to stump up cash for the developing world to invest in a low-carbon economy on the first day of the climate summit in Baku. Outgoing COP28 President Sultan Al-Jaber opened the summit before handing over the presidency to Azerbaijan's Mukhtar Babayev, who told delegates this summit will be a moment of truth for the Paris Agreement. The opening ceremony of the International Climate Conference comes amid accusations that the state oil company of Azerbaijan had signed 25 deals with foreign firms in the year it is hosting the talks. Finance is top of the agenda at COP29, with the world's developing nations needing about $1 billion a day just to cope with the extreme weather impacts of today. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has won a runoff vote in Parliament to stay in his post after an election setback last month that saw his coalition lose its majority in the lower house. Ishiba took over as Prime Minister from Fumio Kishida, who stepped down in September amid a series of public scandals that rattled trust in the Liberal Democratic Party. In an extraordinary parliamentary session on Monday, Ishiba defeated Yoshihiko Noda, the leader of the main opposition party. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is discussing European security and the likely impact of a second Trump presidency as he holds talks with the French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris. Ahead of attending a ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, Mr. Macron and Mr. Starmer have been discussing Russia's ongoing invasion and the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Their meeting comes as questions are being asked about US President-elect Donald Trump's support for Ukraine after he said he could end the war with Russia in 1 day. Trade is also on the agenda, with Trump saying he will impose a blanket 20% tariff on imports into the US. And thousands of beer-drinking German revelers have kicked off a carnival season in the stronghold of Cologne. Thousands of revellers dressed in colourful carnival costumes celebrated the start of the carnival, which ends on Ash Wednesday. The highlight is today, known as Rose Monday, 2 days before Ash Wednesday, when the town's nominated prince, peasant and maiden lead a famous parade. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.